Hi, thanks for joining me. Let's continue with billing, posting insurance payments. Posting insurance payments is accessed the same as posting patient payments or entering charges through our Charges and Payments shortcut icon, or from our billing drop-down menu and the F6 shortcut key. As you remember, we always need to be associated with the appropriate day sheet. I can select the current day, or if I'm wanting to go back and post insurance payments on a particular day sheet. As a biller, I can select that too. We'll go ahead and choose to keep it separate the 14th. Posting my insurance payments, there are a number of methods that can be utilized. One of the add-on modules in our system is the auto payment posting module. This is something that you only have access to if you've licensed it. There's an additional fee. If you're interested in auto payment posting, just let us know and we'll be glad to get additional information. Basically, this allows you to receive electronic remits on your system or through your clearinghouse and have the system automatically post those. The manually posting of individual insurance payments would happen through your charges and payment screen. Let's go ahead and demonstrate that. You would pull up the patient account that you see on the EOB. The patient account might also have a sequence number, and you could put that here like you see. However, I'm going to go ahead and just open up the patient account. As you can see, the patient has a single sequence, sequence number 1. It's out to insurance for $46. If I've received the remit paying on this claim, I'd simply highlight the row or the sequence number and click on my payments and adjustments. Now remember, from our patient payment, we always said you must toggle when you're doing a patient or secondary insurance payment. But in this case, we actually are going to be posting our primary insurance. You can see that here. We have an Anthem EOB. It's the primary payer, and therefore I want to go ahead and populate or pay this claim. Something to note. MicroMD, as you post payments, is going to remember for this particular carrier on this particular charge that this is the contracted amount and this is the charge, and it will also indicate or note the allowed amount. Additionally, it'll remember and mark any coinsurance and paid amounts and write-offs, etc. You can always override this by clicking and using the calculator or clicking in the field and keying in the number. For example, if your allowed amount changes to $42, or let's even go higher, let's go to $44, I can change that here. It'll automatically adjust the paid and the write-off, etc. If I leave the update box checked, the next time I come in for this payer on a 99213, it's going to automatically say the charge may be 46, but the system is going to show the allowed as 44. If you think that the allowed upgrade was a mistake, you want to uncheck the update box, and so next time you come in, the system will bring back the $42 allowed amount. When looking at your EOB, if everything you see on this line item is correct, the charge, the allowed amount, and so forth, you would simply drag and drop your dollar to your payment line. The system's automatically going to notate the payment. It's automatically going to notate any write-off. I want to go ahead and change the write-off just to show you what a patient responsible balance would look like. So if I drag and drop now, I have a $44 payment and a $1 write-off, leaving a remaining sequence balance of $1 that will automatically be noted for patient payment. If everything's accurate, you simply hit save. And you'll notice this label here showing insurance for this patient, once the account updates, is going to change to patient responsibility and indicate that there's a $1 balance. Let's go through this again. This time we'll go into a different account. Now, this patient has multiple sequences out to different insurances. I have it out to the Medicare or primary insurance for the patient, and I can see that here. I also have one out to the patient's secondary insurance. So depending on which payment we're receiving, we would select the appropriate row. If I'm working my Medicare payments right now and the data service was 10/29/2009, I would highlight that, choose my payments and adjustments, and it's automatically going to take me into that primary calculation window. Based on this procedure code, it's indicating that the charge is $800 and the allowed amount is $204.91. It's indicating a coinsurance, a paid amount, and a write-off amount. Just like stated before, I can key in any of these fields and edit. However, they must balance. The system is not going to let you post if you're out of balance in this row. I must account for the entire $800 charge with an allowed amount, and then also having my paid amount and all my coinsurance, deductible, miscellaneous, and write-off fees, totaling the $800. Additionally, the allowed amount cannot exceed the payment amount. And so we drag and drop our dollar. It's going to indicate the payment row, the write-off, and it also makes a note on the system of what the coinsurance is. Notice the bill flag through this. It's automatically sending this off to the secondary payer because there is a secondary insurance for this patient. It's also going to notate the write-off amount and mark it up as secondary so that the adjudication information on the primary is included in that secondary claim. And finally, this is a note in the patient account dropping this portion to patient responsible. Once I look at everything and it looks the way I think it should, I'm okay with it and I want to save that, I'm going to hit my save icon. This time we're going to get a different window, and this is our secondary claim processing window. Because the patient has a secondary payer, we now have to set up the account to process that secondary insurance if your office is an office that processes. If you don't process secondary but you keep the information on hand, you can simply hit delete. Delete says, I'm not going to bill this to secondary. I want to bill everything to the patient. And rather than going out to secondary, it's automatically going to go over to the patient. If on your EOB it indicates that the claim was crossed over to the secondary payer, you would simply hit the crossover icon, and that will handle marking up your system to show primary payment received, secondary claim was crossed over, and the system will show pending secondary payment. And finally, if it is not a crossover and you do want to process the secondary claim, you would go ahead and hit the process icon, and that is going to ready your secondary claim so that the next time you batch your claims, this claim will be included. I'm going to go ahead and choose process. This will open up our claim modification window for secondary insurance. Oftentimes you need an insurance type code, other additional information, or if I look here on this little sheet of paper, you can see here the adjudication information is automatically populated by MicroMD for you. If for some reason I needed to add line level or 2400 loop information, I can access that by clicking in there and hitting my insert button. And finally, if you needed to add a note to for any particular reason, you could do that here. I'm going to go ahead and just cancel. And I do want to note that the adjudication code section can also be found here. I'm going to go ahead and cancel and close and just hit OK. Here I could edit my referring doctor authorization and so forth, but this should have already been done at the primary claim. So normally you're just hitting OK unless it's a Medicare secondary payer. And we do have some configuration that can automate your Medicare secondaries. We'll look at that shortly. You'll notice now that this claim no longer shows out to Medicare, but it shows out to the secondary payer. And once secondary payment is received, I would go through the same process, payments and adjustments. Notice that the system bypassed the primary payment calculation window. The reason is it already sees that this claim has a primary payment noted in the account, and so it's not going to allow you to post a primary payment. It's automatically taking you in for patient and non-primary. If this was our secondary payer and let's just say that they paid $31 toward this claim, I would put my $31 in, just like I did my patient payment. I would hit my disperse button. That applies the money to the charge. If I had multiple charges, the system would automatically apply that out across the different charges appropriately. I can edit that at any time. Notice my payer is showing Anthem. It's not cash, check, or charge because this is not a patient payment. This is an insurance payment. And I want it to do that. And that leaves a sequence balance of $998, which will end up being patient responsible. Now, if you wanted to adjust this account, you could come up here and hit New and come in here and write the $998 off, because you're not going to charge it to the patient, bringing that sequence or data service down to 0. Keep in mind, you must always put your payment information in the green and blue calculation. Do not come up here and put a payment line in, because what happens is if you post a payment the way I just did this write-off line, the system will not apply that payment. The system will automatically put that in as an unapplied credit, and that creates additional work on the back end when you're trying to balance your end of month or end of day. Your unapplied payments are going to affect your report totals. So remember, all payments must go in these boxes that say payment calculation, whether it be primary payment or secondary. If everything looks the way you want it to, simply hit save, and the system brings you back into the patient sequence window. That particular row has fallen off my screen because it now has a zero balance. I can't even see it anymore. If I wanted to see it, I come into my cutoff days, and we can set this system to show you as much or as little as you want, but I have to put 4 number 9s in there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I come over here and hit search, and it brings back all my dates of service. And here I can see the information where we wrote off the $9.98 and made the secondary payment. And you can see that my write-off is showing as unapplied based on the way I posted it. Payments would do the same thing. The only difference is write-offs being unapplied doesn't necessarily matter where the payments do. So see here where I have patient sequence 4 for account number 757.4. Here's how I can enter that. 757.4 is the account, and then the dash sign or minus sign and number 4 for the sequence. Your EOBs will report your accounts this way, indicating that this is your account number. It's patient number 0.4 in that account, and it's sequence or data service number 4. If I hit search, the system's automatically going to take me in to post my payment. So there's a little shortcut when you're posting from an EOB and you have the sequence available. Simply put the account number in just the way it reads on the EOB, and it's going to take you right into that claim. And if it's pending primary payment, it's going to take you into the primary payment calculation window. If it's pending secondary payment, it's going to take you into the secondary or patient window. Something to keep in mind: if I have a patient that has a data service where they have a primary and a secondary payer, but the secondary payer remits payment first, I can use my toggle button to go to secondary and go ahead and post that. Okay, so let's go with sequence 4 on this account, 0.0-4. I'm going into this patient's account, and she has 2 insurances. You can see Medicare is primary and Blue Cross is secondary. Well, let's just say Blue Cross paid the claim before the Medicare payment is received. I'm going to hit my toggle icon. It's going to take me into my patient and non-primary insurance. And let's just say that they paid $7. I would disperse that $7. And it is not going to be a Medicare payment, but this is my Blue Cross payment. So I'm going to come in, and it's actually going to be Anthem. I'm going to choose Anthem and my Anthem write-off, and I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that. So my Anthem is paying. If everything looks the way I expect it to, and it does, it's still leaving my sequence balance, I'm going to go ahead and just hit save. I'm going to not process the Anthem payment because it's a crossover, so I'm going to choose crossover, and I'm already received the payment because it was a crossover. Now notice that this data service is still sitting out to Anthem, and I can come back in here and just change responsibility and say okay, and do it again, and just put it back to Medicare. So I know I'm still pending my Medicare payment. Now, even though I'm on Medicare, I can see that Anthem has already paid. And so once my Medicare pays, let's just say we come in a week later, come into her account, and we've received the Medicare payment. Everything looks good, with the exception of this 5-cent overage. So I'm going to say that the write-off here is $11.20 because I don't have an EOB. That's why I made the mistake. You would have an EOB and you would balance out. And so with that balanced out, I simply hit save. And if we want to remove the open claim, you can say yes or no. The benefit to removing the claim is you keep your system cleaner. The negative on that is when you go to search old claims, you're not able to pull it up. Oftentimes, we're going to set this to no and just keep the data. And again, I'm going to show it to delete because there's no reason to even do anything with a secondary. I can see here the Anthem's already paid. So I'm going to say delete on that, and I'm done. It's down to a zero balance. That sequence is completely paid and balanced. Didn't matter what order. Anthem paid before Medicare. That's fine. No big deal. So let's recap on how we process just patient insurance payments individually. We're going to use our charges and payments. Remember, we can access from the billing dropdown in our charges and payments shortcut F6. You'll pull up the patient account that you need to make payment on, making sure if you want to put a dash or a minus sign with the sequence number that you want to pay on. That's going to open you right up into that sequence. You'll key into the payment box, and the system again is automatically recognizing Medicare is already paid. You can see that up here. It's giving you the history. And now it's time for secondary payment. So secondary payment, if my balance was $40.98 and maybe the secondary paid $31, I hit my disperse button to go ahead and apply that money to the procedure. And then I'm going to use my drag and drop. Remember, my codes are automatic. They're automatically associated with the plan. The only time you need to change these codes are when you're doing either a patient payment, a number 1 for cash, number 2 for check, and number 3 for charge. Or if I were accepting my secondary payment before my primary payment came in, I would need to toggle my codes or change my codes to reflect that, because the system in the first payment, it wants to see a Medicare code, and that's why it would stay there. But in this case, I'm actually paying for Anthem. This is an Anthem payment, so I don't need to change anything. And notice also when I click in these fields, it's telling me 44 is an Anthem write-off and 4 is an Anthem payment. If I wanted to pull something else in here, I can put a % sign, hit enter, and my search window comes up, and now I can choose the actual payment type I want. For instance, if I was saying, well, Medicare paid first or Anthem paid first, I can just choose the appropriate one. Anthem is appropriate. I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Drag and drop my dollar. Now remember, if you make a mistake, you can review this line. It's an Anthem payment, $31, and I could put my check number in here if I wanted to. But let's say, oh no, it wasn't $31, it's $27. Well, I just changed the amount. Now if I drag and drop, nothing's going to change because I didn't disperse this. I must hit disperse and you'll see this number change. Now it's changed my balance appropriately, and when I drag and drop, you'll see a change here. If everything looks good, go ahead and hit save. Because that was the secondary, it automatically drops the remaining balance to patient. And exiting window takes me back down to charges and payment screen. That's my F6 or my charges and payment screen. And I can come in here and just change account numbers to go to the next patient on the EOB, choosing the patient and starting to post payments appropriately. Once I'm done posting, exit that window, takes me back to my charges and payments window, go to my next account. Notice when I'm in a patient account, let's move this out. It's a patient sequence screen, and that's going to show me every date of service, and double clicking on the date gives me all the details for that particular day. And finally, back to charges and payments. When I'm done, I just simply exit window. This charge slip list, because of when we post charges, is associated. So every time I'm in the charges and payment screen, that window appears. I'm into a patient account right now, so this is my active window, and that closes as soon as I hit exit window. Notice my menu, posting sequences. I'm in the patient sequences. When I hit exit, notice it changes the charges and payments. And again, my charge slip window pops up, and I'm in the charges and payments window. If I'm done with all my posting, I don't need this window, I hit exit window. Everything related to that window is going to close out. Okay, so we reviewed how to post individual payments. Let's look at another method of posting insurance payments, and it's called batch payment posting. You'll find it under the billing menu. Batch payment posting allows us to use this search icon to come in and say, I have an Anthem Blue Cross and I have 2 different Anthem Blue Cross plans remit that I got in, so I want to post those payments. I can pull my carrier and then come over to the left and hit my search icon. And it's going to bring up any patients that I have balances outstanding with my Blue Cross plan. I can take and enter my Blue Cross check number here and enter my payment account or payment amount here. We'll just go with $525 to make it even. The next thing I would do, if I wanted to, I could give it a batch name, and I can just call it Anthem 1 because maybe I have 2 or 3 different checks. And so what's nice about this is when I run my end of day report, it's going to take, and under each batch, it's going to list out all the different payments. So I can easily identify those payments with a check number. There are other nice sub-reports that automatically create. So the batch number is not really necessary. It's a preference. Notice my day sheet date. It's telling me today's date is not 11/14, and that's okay. Maybe I intend to post on an older day sheet. It's just simply drawing your attention to the day sheet to make sure you're not posting all of this on the wrong day sheet. If you post on the wrong day sheet, the only way to take that or undo that is to manually reverse off each and every payment and adjustment. Well, it's a lot of work, so always verify your day sheet. Very important. And I could set a date range for a file date. I know that all these claims were filed within a certain period. It's probably best to just leave this wide open unless you have tons of claims, because you want to make sure to pull in everybody and minimize your need to search for patients. One other thing I'll point out, as I post, you're going to see this $525 amount decrease. When I run out of names on my EOB or I'm finishing up, I should be down to a 0 balance when I've posted the last patient. That tells me that I posted everything correct. I'm in balance. Okay, so we grab our EOB and we start looking. If my EOB is in account number order, I can click, and you notice we've looked at this before, but I can click and change this column header and sort based on ID, because I see that A to Z, on patient, on posting date, service date, sequence, etc. I can choose how I want to do this. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in alphabetical order, which is most common on EOBs. So let's say that Alan is not on there, this Alan is not on there, but this Bestwick patient, this one is. It's Bestwick, but it's not sequence 39, it's sequence number 66. And we would know that because the EOB would say 787.0-66. And so I'm going to go into this one. It's automatically taking me in, just as it has before, to the primary payment window. In this case, this is the only payer this patient has. So he has multiple rows, and you can even see a slide bar here that shows me an additional row at the bottom. I want to make sure that each of these procedure codes and the charge allowed, etc., I want to make sure all of this matches. If it doesn't, remember you're going to click in that field and either use the calculator or actually click in the field and just use your number key to put in whatever it should be. Let's just say they're only paying $3. You'll notice my adjustment needs to change as well. Maybe not. Maybe it's already adjusted itself. So I have a $10 charge. Okay, it did. I'm sorry. I apologize. It did the co-insurance. I'll put the co-insurance to 0. And these are little things. It is going to warn you when you make a mistake. So I have a $5 payment and a $5 write-off. That works for me. So if everything is good, I would simply drag and drop my dollar, and it's going to post all of the payment. And it's automatically dispersed everything, so I don't need to worry about that. It's also posting my write-off and showing any co-insurance. The co-insurance is automatically going to become patient responsible. If I agree with everything, I would save. If I didn't, I would come in and make the appropriate corrections. Remember, when you change an allowed amount, if you leave the update column checked, it's going to update the system, and the next time you bill out that code for that carrier, the allowed amount will reflect $3 along with co-insurance and paid and so forth, reflecting as shown here. I'm going to go ahead and save. And you'll notice that our check has diminished by the amount that was paid. And so we would continue to post payments by highlighting the row and double-clicking. Going in, verifying all the information. For the purpose of training, we'll just pretend like everything they're doing here is great. Actually, I want to change one thing here. We'll go ahead and just say that's good. And notice it diminished my check again. And also notice that it's highlighting these rows in yellow. Okay, and so my check has diminished, and I can see the 2 rows that have posted so far. I would continue down my EOB looking for the patients that I need to post. And we're going to go ahead and choose this one here because he's on my EOB. And we'll just say they paid $28 on that one. It's automatically adjusting everything else for me when I do that. And let's do the allowed here. We'll put an allowed amount here of $50, and we'll do that. Okay, just trying to use up this check a little better. It's leaving a credit balance, so I want to adjust something here because I don't want a credit balance on this patient. We have an allowed. We'll change our allowed here. Let's go ahead and allow 25 on that. And so it's going to automatically adjust. And we can drag and drop. We're leaving a small patient balance. Everything looks good. We save. And we updated. So the next time that code will come over with that amount as well. And we'll continue down the list until we run out of money here. And I'm going to go ahead and use this one to try and use up this 300. Actually, I'm going to overpay. So let's exit out of that. Actually, we'll go ahead. We'll just adjust it. And we'll just say that on this one, on the paid, there's our high paid items. We're going to change the allowed amount on this. And now we're just going to say that on this one, they only allow 25. And that's okay. It's turning red because it's saying, wait a minute, you've been underpaid. And that may be maybe what needs to happen. If I wanted the system to update and say we're only ever going to get $25, I would do that. If not, I would leave it alone. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it alone because I'm really just trying to get my check to balance out. I don't want it to be any more than $300 per se. This here to be more than 300. And I'm going to find where they paid high again, like here. And I'm going to take it down to $15 is what they paid, making us write off the rest. And so that looks good to me. I think we'll be okay with this. And it's a payment of $304. That'll work. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that. And so you can see my check here. And we'll go ahead and cross it over. Just say it cross over to the other secondary payer here. And now I'm down to $20 that were paid. I'll go ahead and just choose this sequence here, and we'll just say they paid 20.17, just to give you a good idea. And so I can drag and drop that. Everything looks good. I save, and by the time I'm done, I will have a zero balance here, and I'll have all my sequences. Now notice it says post payments. None of these have been posted. If I made a mistake and I wanted to start over, I could simply exit and not save any of my work. However, if I want to go ahead and post these, I would hit my post payments, and the system will go ahead and take care of posting all those. And so now when I run my day sheet, just to look at what we just posted in batch form, as I scroll down, because they're the last things on my day sheet, I'll be able to see those payments with my Anthem check number right here. And you'll see that it notated that. You have the totals on the accounts and what was payment, written off, etc., including where I adjusted to the 2017 so that we could balance down to zero. Additionally, it'll create in these sub-reports a batch summary showing you that you had the Anthem batch 1 had $525 of payments. So batch payment posting allows you to select the insurance carrier that you have an EOB for. When you see it in the green area, those are available for selection. When you see it in this white area, those are the ones you have chosen. If I wanted Anthem, I can drag and drop it, or I can double click it. If I made a mistake, if I want to remove it from here, I double click it, it pushes it back down. Once I'm done, anything in the white area is what's going to be selected, and you'll notice that here. If I have multiple selected, it won't display the names, it'll simply tell me I have 207. If I want to see what the 2 are, I come in here and I can see that on the top of my screen. Let's go ahead and just leave Medicare. Once I have my selection made, I want to hit my search icon. Search is pulling up any claims that are out there that need payment. I would put in my check number, and we'll just do 9s. I would put in my payment amount. We'll just do $100. And now I would give it a name, Medicare 1. Of course, I don't have to give it a batch number or name. This is purely up to you. The next thing you would do is, from your EOB, pull up the patients and post the payments. I'm going to do even amounts on the paid so that I can easily balance. I'll do $70. I was trying to exceed the allowed amount and it wouldn't let me. If I had a payment that exceeded my allowed amount, I would need to change that payment. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. I would need to come in here and say 100 is allowed and 100 was paid. And now it's going to let me do that. If my allowed amount is $70 and I try and do $100 paid, it's going to not allow that. And so it's automatically making me adjust that. We'll go with 70. That works for me. Drag and drop. It's going to show me my payment. It's going to show me my write-off, my balance if there is one. If I see a credit balance here, I want to look over things and make sure I'm doing things right. And I'm going to say no, and we'll cross it over to secondary. And then I'm going to go to the next one. Notice my 100 is now 30 because I've already posted that sequence. This allowed amount is going to change to 30 because I want a paid amount of 30. And I'm going to drag and drop when everything looks good. Hit save. I can see my balances here. And I'm going to say no, I don't want to remove the claim, and go ahead and cross it over to secondary. And now I'm down to 0. So everything's been completed. I'm just going to go ahead and say post those payments. They've been posted. If I go to billing and day sheet and I run my day sheet, I can see the last postings are going to be my Medicare, my payment 9999 and my payment 9999. I had 2 of them. And again, when I come down into the sub reports, I can see my Anthem, and now I can see my Medicare was 100. So just keep in mind and remember that charges and payments is where all payments and all charges are entered. This includes the adjustment section as well. You can always run by going to billing and day sheet, your day sheet, to see how things have posted, etc. To make sure or find a posting mistake. Additionally, when I hit my F6 shortcut key, as I'm posting through the day, it's going to keep tabs on how much I've posted. This concludes insurance payment posting.